Okay, hi HDFS students, welcome to the overview of the My Virtual Child and My Virtual Life adult papers in HDFS 101. So here's the resources for the papers on Canvas. I'm just giving a quick overview here. You'll want to make sure that you're really taking a look at the guidelines that are posted, lots of good details there. There's also a library guide and a library video linked up showing you how to find a source and even giving you search terms to use when you're searching for sources. There's a sample paper, and also there's an APA PowerPoint, and I'll include some APA in this presentation as well. Okay, so there's two possible papers, the My Virtual Child or MVC paper, which covers childhood and adolescence, and then there's the My Virtual Life or MVL adult paper, which covers adulthood, which is in the second part of the class. We offer both papers. They're worth exactly the same points, same requirements, and then we drop your lowest one. So you could decide to skip the first one and just only do the last one, or I think what most students do is do the first paper, see what their grade is, and then decide if they want to do the second paper or not, or if they're happy with their score on the first paper. For each paper, you'll choose between 3 prompts or questions to answer. Each paper is a minimum of 2.5 pages. We're also requiring that you find and use a journal article that helps address the prompt, and that you attach that as a PDF file. In preparation for that, we have 2 journal article pre-check assignments to help make sure that students are getting the right type of source so that you don't lose points later. This is a challenge, I think, for many students to get kind of a source that meets our requirements of an academic peer-reviewed journal article. So that will happen a few weeks before that. You'll have your journal article pre-checked. And again, you're attaching it as a PDF file, not just like a link, because most of the time we can't open those links. So the library guide will show you how to get a PDF file. You're also going to be using course material, the lecture or the textbook in your paper. It'll be in APA format, and again, the rubric and the requirements are the same for both papers. All right, so for the My Virtual Child paper, you'll have a choice of one of 3 prompts on temperament, peer relations, or risk and protective factors. Again, you'll just pick one of those. You'll find a journal article that addresses at least part of the prompt, and you'll use information from that and incorporate it into your paper. Then you're also going to incorporate course material, either textbook or lecture material, into your paper as well. And of course, you're going to reflect on your My Virtual Child experience. The My Virtual Life adult paper is exactly the same, but just different prompts, different simulation, right? So you'll be choosing between 3 prompts, one about risk-taking behaviors, parenthood, or divorce, but then the same requirements of journal article, course material, and information from your My Virtual Life simulation. Okay, so a little bit more about course material. We are looking for at least 3 specific and relevant statements paraphrased from the lecture or the textbook. And then so you're going to summarize that or paraphrase, put it in your own words, but then still cite to give credit for the idea. And you can see here the format for those in-text citations. Just like with the short answer, you're going to put the author's name, the year, and then we're asking that you put the chapter number so that we can find the source. And again, year means either the year the book was published, or if it's my lecture, the calendar year, not like the age. And again, we want you to, when you're pulling information from course material, don't just write it off the top of your head and throw my name in there in terms of the lecture or the textbook. Make sure that you're going back to the source and pulling something specific that we would be able to locate in the source, not just kind of a vague reference to attachment or something like that. Okay, so again, you're going to be finding a journal article, downloading and saving it as a PDF file. Again, our library guide will show you how to do this. You're going to upload or as a PDF file in both the journal article pre-check assignment and again when you submit the paper. So you are going to upload it 2 times, because basically when we grade the paper, it's too hard for us to go back and look at what you put in the pre-check assignment. It's too time consuming basically for grading a lot of students. And sometimes people have changed their article. So we do require that you submit it as a PDF, the complete article in both places. The article that you find doesn't have to answer every single question in the prompt. It just needs to be relevant to some part of it. And similarly, you don't have to summarize the entire article in your paper. You just have to pull out the relevant information to put in your paper. So we are also looking for a source that's published in the last 10 years. And the library guide will show you how to set that limit. And so this is not basic websites, even though you find the journal article online. It's not just a basic website with information about divorce or something like that. It's not books or book chapters. It's not just basic magazine articles. It's not other course materials or our course materials. It's not undergraduate textbooks, ours or someone else. It's not popular news articles, encyclopedias, not government reports or dissertations. So this is an academic peer-reviewed journal article. And again, the library guide will have search terms that correspond to each of the 3 prompts that you're choosing from for either paper. You're going to pull out what's relevant, again, not everything from the journal article, and have at least 3/4 of a page from the journal article in your paper. You can put it all in one section, or you can disperse it throughout the paper. Here's the pre-check requirements, and there's a corresponding rubric in the drop box. So again, we're requiring that it's an academic journal article, and that's 1 point. 2, submitting it, attaching it as the full article as a PDF file. You get 2 points for that. A point for having it published within the last 10 years, and another point for having it be relevant to one of 3 prompts. And again, it doesn't have to be 100% matched to the prompt, but it has to inform some parts of the prompt. In terms of the paper requirements in rubric, we give you points for having a correct journal article and attaching it as a PDF. We also give you points for the amount, the length that you pull in from the journal article, that 3/4 of a page minimum. We're going to give you points for pulling in specific information. Again, we'll say over and over, don't be vague. Convince us that you have an understanding of what you read. Put it in your own words, pull in specific information. Then we're going to give you points for just meeting the overall page requirements of 2.5 page minimum. We'll give you points for addressing all parts of the prompt. Points for including class material, the lecture or the textbook, at least 3 connections. Then we're going to give you points for in-text citing frequency. Again, all ideas that aren't your own need to have a source. And so every paragraph should have at least 1 citation, unless you're doing an intro or a conclusion, which are optional. Maybe you don't have a citation there, but every other one you should be citing the simulation, you should be citing your journal article, you should be citing either the lecture or the textbook. Again, you don't have to cite both lecture and textbook. You get to choose. You could do a mix, you could do just one. We'll give you points for writing style. Again, we only allow 1 brief direct quote, and after that we're going to take off a point for any more than that. We'll give you points also for APA formatting. Okay, so here's a little bit more about APA formatting. We do require double-spaced 12-point Times New Roman font and 1-inch margins. If you submit your paper in a different format, we'll put it in that, download it and put it in that format to make sure you're still meeting all the page requirements. We do require a title page, but no running head. And you can see how to format that title page. We're not too picky about it. We do request that you put the prompt on the title page, the name of the prompt, but you can see an example of it in the sample paper. And then we're requiring in-text citations and a reference list. So on your reference list and in your in-text citations, you should be citing the journal article, either the textbook or the lecture. You can do either one, or you can do both. It's your choice. And the MVC or MVL simulation. Again, all ideas that aren't your own need a citation, even if you're putting them in your own words. And so, for example, you're going to always have at least 1 source per paragraph. And if you've got multiple sources in a paragraph, then you're going to have multiple citations. Okay, a bit more about the APA in-text citation formatting. And again, the guidelines have this even in more detail, like for what to do when you're quoting and things like that. So for your journal article, You'll put the authors and then the publication year. And again, check out the APA PowerPoint and also the guidelines for kind of how to format that, with whether or not you have one author, two authors, three authors, or more than three. The textbook right now, Arnett and Jensen, publication year, and then again put the chapter in there. That's not APA, that's us asking you to do that so we can find the chapter that you pulled the information from. And similarly for my lecture material, you'll use my last name, then the year that you're taking the class, and then the chapter that you pulled the material from. For the simulation, you can put MVC or MVL simulation, and then again the calendar year that you're accessing the simulation. So a lot of times I see people citing in the first example there where they have given the author's names at the beginning and then they put the date at the end. And you should know that in APA that's never correct to have the date all alone at the end of the sentence. Either you put the date up at the front with the author's names, if you're mentioning them as we call it in narrative, or you put the author's name in the parentheses with the date at the end. What happens if you're pulling on two sources in the same sentence? So maybe you're writing about Erickson and you read about it in the textbook and you also learned about it in my lecture and you'd like to cite both. So then you can use a semicolon to separate the two references. You alphabetize them by the first author's last name, and then you can see here that we are also entering the chapter number. Okay, this is how you would cite the simulation. Paraphrase something from the simulation, and then at the end of the sentence put either MVC or MVL simulation, and then again the year that you're accessing the simulation. And then that's how you would cite it in the reference list. Here's an example of a reference list. Most people are going to have the textbook, everyone's going to have the textbook, a journal article, and then either or both the lecture and the textbook. Okay, for writing style, again, we are looking for accurate grammar and spelling, and you can use computerized programs like Grammarly or Spellcheck to check that. We're looking for a logical structure, clear topic sentences, good transitions, and again, we allow no more than one brief quotation where you take something word for word from the simulation or the textbook or the lecture or the journal article, and you put quotation marks around it to indicate that it's not your words. Everything else you should be putting in your own words and then citing to give credit for the idea. All right, so I really hope that we can avoid plagiarism because it's stressful for you, it's stressful for me, and I always file reports with plagiarism, even if it's unintentional. So here's why I end up filing reports. If you copied sentences from the sample paper, or if you took the sample paper and used that as kind of your basic structure, and obviously you're not citing the sample paper. Similarly, if you take sentences from another student's paper, even if you kind of make it your own a little bit, or you use another student's paper and you kind of use their format and you pretty much copy the basic idea, but you just substituted in a little bit of your information. If you take a sentence from any source, word for word, and you don't use quotation marks, or a phrase, I should say, more than 3 words, consecutive words. If you are taking ideas from other sources and not giving us credit for the idea, author, date, and then of course if you're using AI for words or ideas, that's just not appropriate for this assignment. You can, after you turn it in, we're going to be screening with Turnitin, and it's a little bit tricky to get there, but we have some links in the assignment drop boxes to walk you through how to view your Turnitin report. You can always fix it and then resubmit before the deadline. A few other reminders. When you are taking ideas from other sources, make sure that you put it in your own words. Don't just change one word from the source and then cite the source with in-text citations and in the reference list. The general rule is if you take more than 3 consecutive words verbatim from any source, you've got to use quotation marks in addition to citing the source. Okay, good job hanging in there till the end. Let me again put in a plug for Zoom office hours. I'd love to see you, and so would our GTA. We'll have extra office hours around the time that assignments are due. We have 15-minute slots on Zoom that you sign up for, and I swear in just 15 minutes we will go through what you've got, even if it's not complete, and give you some quick tips and really help you maximize your grade.